Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are doing another part to my what are the most common piercing questions on the internet questions. In today's video we are doing So if you haven't seen the other ones, we have done what, who, and which. We will get started with, are piercing guns bad? Yeah, they are very bad. They can't be put in an auto club. They cannot be properly sterilized. They use butterfly back earrings, which I've done an entire video on. I can go into this a lot further in that video. There's just so much room for bacteria to grow on those earrings. They accumulate gunk. They're really not great in that sense, but also when people try and get them off and they've been jammed on there with the piercing gun, so the gun is jamming the earring on there and then the person can't get them off, which then they try to get them off. It leads to irritation. It leads to touching the jewelry a lot, the piercing itself a lot. They generally have to go see a piercer to get them off, and it's just a whole lot of pain for generally the child who has had them done. So that sucks. It's a reused instrument, which we reuse tools, but they can be sterilized. They can be put in the autoclave, so they are completely sterilized and able to be reused, whereas a piercing gun cannot. So you're reusing something that should not be reused. They are causing blunt force trauma. Your piercing is essentially being set up for failure. The blunt force trauma basically means that your jewelry is just being shoved through. Rather than using a piercing needle, which allows for the space of the jewelry to go in, it is just shoving it through. Like, it's just forcing it straight through whatever body part that the piercing gun is being used. Not to mention if it's being used on somewhere like cartilage, this can cause major problems. A lot of people find themselves in hospital after being pierced in their cartilage with a gun. It's very dangerous, should never be done. But a lot of very I guess fashion jewelry kind of stores just do that. I don't know why. I don't understand it, but no, it's not good. And then going on from that, we have, are piercing guns safe? And no, they're not. Like I said, some people can end up in hospital. It can lead to infection because they're not clean, they're not sterilized. Because of the blunt force trauma, it can lead to damaged tissue, scarring, piercings that never heal. That is by far the most common, that the piercing just cannot heal because of the trauma, because of the scarring, because it's not a clean, fresh wound. It just doesn't work. Are piercing guns illegal? From what I know, I don't think they're legal anywhere. I could be wrong. If there are some places in the world that they are illegal, please let me know. I would love to know. I don't think they are. I think it comes down to the fact that the body modification industry as a whole is quite unregulated. I just want to jump in here and clarify that by no means was I saying that I include piercing guns as a part of the body modification industry. I'm just trying to explain how making them illegal could make things difficult for our industry. Just hear me out. In Australia, at least in some states within Australia, there are regulations that basically just say that a person can do piercings, tattoos, body modifications, as long as they have a infection control certificate. So basically they understand how infections and diseases can be transmitted. The tools they're using, autoclaves, keeping things clean and making sure things are safe. That's all you have to understand. You basically just have to do a course in that. But that doesn't mean that you know how to do anything. I mean, for the most part, most places that are hiring you aren't going to hire you unless you know what you're doing, or they are thoroughly training you in any body modification, whether it's piercing, tattooing, or more specifically body modifications. So no, I don't believe piercing guns are illegal. But I guess it's really hard for them to make them illegal when it's would they be making piercing just needles illegal or tattooing illegal because none of us are actually medical professionals. No one really has a specific qualification, if that makes sense, at least not in Australia. I could be wrong for other places around the world. It's kind of you learn and you get signed off, but it's not you have a piece of paper saying I'm a qualified PSI did this course. That's not what you have. Speaking of that, I actually learned the other day that in Korea, you have to be a doctor to perform tattoos. And if you're not, you're doing it like very illegally, apparently, which is wild. In a way, it makes sense to me because like it is kind of crazy the things that we can do without being medically trained, without having a background in like the medical health field. It is kind of crazy that we can do these things. Are piercing bumps normal? Yes, they are, I would say, quite normal. They're quite common. Piercing bump generally happens due to pressure, whether you're laying on it, bumping it is a common thing as well. You see them a lot. So you don't have to feel gross or icky or anything like that if you have a piercing bump. In fact, like I definitely found like in high school when a lot of people didn't have a lot of piercings or I didn't know many people who had them, if like I had a piercing bump, I remember having one on my nostril piercing and like people be like, yuck, like clean it. And it's like, I do fucking clean it. I clean it every fucking day actually, no matter what I do. But I know mine was because I changed it to a ring far too early. I waited the recommended time, but I changed it probably not long after that and it wasn't ready. So like that's the recommended time. It doesn't mean everyone is ready to change at the time that your piercer says like this is when it should be healed by. If you were to try and like take it out, if it feels painful in any way, it's not ready to come out. Mine was very painful to change. I changed it, put a ring in, and then I got a pressure bump. Some people would say it was dirty and it was gross, like clean it. It was cleaned. I cleaned it all the goddamn time. It definitely still was my fault, but yes, they are common. It happens a lot. Are piercing guns bad for your lobes? As I said before, yes, blunt force trauma, just fucking not sterilized, just shit. It isn't going to heal well. It's just all around bad. I think people think just because it's like, it's your lobes, it's fine. You can just use a piercing gun on there, it's fine. No, you can't. It's just as bad and they'll never heal. And that's why, like when you think back to when you had piercings when you were younger, a lot of us got them done with piercing guns because it wasn't as well known how bad they were. Piercing shops weren't as welcoming or like whatever it was. Everyone just went and got their lobes done with a piercing gun. It was just like, so common. And like none of our fucking lobes healed, did they? Like ever. It took fucking years for them to heal. So that says something. That was telling us that like, yes, they are bad for our lobes. Are piercing bumps permanent? No, but some people do get piercing bumps and keloids confused. Keloids are permanent, but keloids are a like genetic condition that you generally will only get if someone in your family has them. So look out for that. Generally, if someone in your family has them, it is best to not get a piercing because you are probably very prone to getting one. But if you have a piercing bump, which is a completely different thing, they will go away with the right care. Are piercing guns really that bad? I've said it once, I've said it twice, I will say it 100,000 times. Yes, they are bad. Are piercing bumps painful? Not all of them are painful, but for the most part, most of them are pretty painful. But if you do a saline soak or if you do a hot compress, these are things you can do to help alleviate the severity of the piercing bump, and these are things you can do to help them dissipate. And I mean, don't touch them, don't move or twist the jewelry, look after them and the piercing bump will go away. So don't like test to see if they're painful like by touching it or tapping it or moving your jewelry. It's going to be painful. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like down below and subscribe if you're new here, and I'll be back very soon. Bye.